So we are super fortunate to have him today to talk to us about ways to get your kids excited and the value of coding. So please help me welcome Gus Issa.
Well, thank you very much for being here today, and thanks for having me. And I look forward to show you some of the secrets we have. This is my email. If you, I don't know if you're going to receive a copy of this or not, but maybe the event planners can share it with you. If you ever need to get a hold of me, you're more than welcome to send me an email directly. If you happen to forget the email and you want to get a hold of me, you can just email support@brainpad.com and just say, I want to talk to Gus, or just give us a call, or stop by. We're not too far. Many options. So the value of coding devices, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, like why devices are value of coding. Why did I cross out the devices? So this is your starter kit. You want to become a coder. It's very easy. Find a really dark space. This is not going to work. If you want to code or do anything creative, this is a beautiful area. It's not going to work for you. You need a basement. It has to be dark, maybe a little bit not fun. You need to talk to everyone. You need to be antisocial. You need some really nice glasses. Like even if you use glasses, you need to upgrade something bigger, thicker. You have to be smarter than anybody else in this room. You need to start hacking things. Like I was talking to somebody downstairs, and they wanted to hack their vacuum this morning, which is great. Pizza and Hot Pocket is your best friend. Now, this is the reality. Like that was a joke, but this is for real now. This is what people think I do. Everybody wants me to fix their computer. My parents think I'm a rocket scientist. I do some amazing things. What I think of myself, I'm just like genius, right? But in reality, we're Googling things. So we all have Google at home. So just how do I hack my vacuum cleaner? And then you'll be all set. So what is really coding when we talk about coding? Everybody should become a coder professionally, or we should all learn the basics of coding no matter what we do? This is me like long time ago. Maybe it doesn't look like me, but that's me. So who needs coders? Like we always have this idea like, oh, coders, oh, so you work for Google, you work for Microsoft, you're like work for the tech giants. Do we ever think of a McDonald's? Like, where do you work? I work for McDonald's. Oh, you didn't go to school. No, I'm a programmer. I work for McDonald's. So working for a company like a McDonald's or a Starbucks or any other company in that industry does not mean you're not a coder. They need that in today's age of technology. What about banks and hospitals? Do they need coders? Or do you have to be a physician to work at a hospital? Or a financial advisor to work at a bank? Can you be a coder? What devices are coded? These are all the misconceptions, like the things I'm covering here earlier, like just to see like what the idea we have of coding, and it might not be true. So we know programmers program computers, and now in the last like 10 years, mobile phones. We all have phones. They all have apps. Somebody has to make these apps, and somebody has to program these computers that we still use today. But then you may know that websites also have coding, like banks, e-commerce. These have, it's not just a shell. So there are static websites that is just you look at it, it looks pretty, and that's all it does. But there are a lot of websites that do things. Like it has what we call a back end, where when you go to your bank and you put in your password, it pulls in your financial information, and then you see it on the front. So there is somebody back there that is coding, taking care of the back end of that system. Now, in these two examples, we're still talking about a computer, maybe a big computer when we're talking about a bank, not the usual computer you have at home, but we're still talking about a computer. Now, what about a pump at a gas station? When we look at a pump, like when you go today and you pump up your gas, you're going to look at the pump maybe a little bit differently. Like there is somebody that coded that pump. Like there's somebody that connected their computer and they wrote code for that pump. If you go back like 50 years, then you had a mechanical pump. There was no code in there, but now you have a digital pump. So somebody did code it. Newer pumps have screens and advertising. It's a computer. But then it's still a thing, or it's a device. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. What about a microwave oven? This is like the simplest thing that we all have that somebody coded at some point. You wouldn't never think of a microwave as a computer. It is a very, very tiny computer. Somebody actually sat down and wrote code for it. So devices or things versus computers. Why is this important today? The difference is traditional computer is what we think of a computer today, or a tablet or a phone. It's a device for us to use to surf the internet, get to our apps, get to our whatever you use the computer for. There is a human interaction. Now, when you go to a pump at a gas station, yes, there's human interaction, but you're really not using the computer. You're just pumping gas. The purpose is pumping gas, but then the computer is serving a secondary purpose there. Some machines, like monitoring weather or whatever these machines might be, there may not be human interaction at all. There are a lot more devices than computers, and this is where this becomes important. So if you look at the graph, the top dashed boxes, these are how many computers are out there. And you can see that over the years, it has gone up, but not really much. We needed computers 10 years ago, and we still need computers today. So the amount of computers are out there is about the same, a little bit more. But then if you look at devices, things have changed quite a bit. Like your home becoming a smart home. You have so many computers, tiny, tiny computers in your home today. Like if you have the lock on your door is digitized, it's connected to the internet, that's considered a computer still. And somebody is creating that, programming that, coding that. There is today higher demand for device coders than before. So like in the 80s, it was like, oh, you build website, it's great, everybody is looking for you. And now today, it's, oh, you program devices, we need you. A lot of programmers out there, coders, but not as many device coders. Now, this is an interesting fact that a coder that understands devices, they understand more low level, the smaller things, they're capable of getting into computers easier than the other way around. So if you're a computer programmer trying to program a device, it might not be straightforward. Coding as a profession. Not everybody is going to be a doctor or a teacher or an engineer or a coder. However, if you've decided that, or a student picked up on the idea and they decided that they want to be a professional coder in the future, there are some really nice things that come along with this kind of work. First of all, you can do it remotely. Unfortunately, with COVID, we had to change a lot of things, and it was difficult in a lot of situations. Now, for coders, it wasn't a big deal. I can just do it from home or from the dark basement. You can work for somebody in a different state or a different country. You don't have to physically relocate. You can relocate your job, but still stay in where you are today. It helps challenge students, and this one is to me is really important. You don't have to have formal schooling. Now, of course, we appreciate schools and we appreciate formal schooling, but however, there are kids out there who may not have the opportunity to go through the formal school, college, everything goes well for them. You can learn on your own. You can go not the traditional path, take a small course, or maybe learn something online. Students with disabilities, you can be handicapped and you can be a coder. You would have a beautiful life. You don't have to worry about a lot of things. You can learn and work from a public library. You really don't need money to get into this profession. If you have the desire, you can get into it. Returning citizen, this is another interesting one, where we somehow decided that if somebody did something bad and they're on the inside and we want to get them ready to come back out and emerge with the society, that we can teach them carpentry and this will keep them off the road. I don't think having that kind of work would really deter you from doing bad again. Maybe building a website, maybe doing something that's more comfortable will show you that, yeah, you can still make money and have a comfortable job. You can learn it on the inside. and you don't have to pass a background check, so this is a difficult thing to obtain. When a person is out, always passing a background check is always a challenge, which they won't. And coding, you can do that on your own as a consultant. So Luis is a really good example of somebody that decided that they want to code professionally. This is Greg. Greg is right there. You can see him because he has this amazing hat with a Brainpad on it that he decided, and he has a watch also. He's all like super smart. He's one of these people that went by the recipe that we talked about earlier. So basically, Greg was in media production. So he would work with cameras, he would go to events, and he will basically in the media industry. But then he decided that he did that for 30 years. So he didn't do that just for a couple days. He did that all his life. And then at 40, he's like, I'm 40 years old and I have a baby at home. Maybe I want to do something different. I don't want to be on the road all the time. Maybe I want to go back to school and I want to become a coder. So he went back to school and he started learning coding. Where did you go to? Henry Ford Community College. So he was, he lives 3 minutes away from here. So if you need help, he can help you out. So he applied for a job. We were looking for entry-level programmer, and then there's a 50-year-old man showing up for an entry-level job as a coder. He's like, please, I want to code. I think I love coding. I want to do it. Please hire me. And we sat down. We talked about it a little bit. He was entry-level, but seems smart. I'm sure he can pick it up. Let's give it a try. And then 2 weeks into it, he's like, Gus, why don't you make videos? What do you mean? I have some gear at home. I'll bring it tomorrow. Next day, he showed up like a couple big boxes and cameras and lights. He sat me down at the desk, set the lights in my face. I started sweating. I got really nervous. He's like, start talking. Talk about what? Like, I don't know. You're the one talking. I'm the one with the camera. You do the talking. So we started doing like some tech talks, and we did make some videos. It was fun, and this actually helped me in my speaking. So I feel less nervous today. Thank you, Greg, very much. He has been a great help throughout the year, so thank you, Greg. So here is a true example that you can see who decided at some point that I want to do coding, and he did a little bit of schooling, but most of it has been Google. Now, what about coding basics for everyone? Whether you are a teacher or a doctor or whatever job you might have. It's good because it enhances critical thinking and logical skills. You start seeing things a little bit differently, like computers are like step by step. They're not as smart as we think the computer is. You have a higher appreciation and understanding of STEM fields. You don't necessarily have to be a coder, but when you are in a STEM field, understanding the background of like the down level, like on how the computers think, and when I talk about computer, I'm talking about something really basic, like a microwave. It will help you see things slightly differently. And become smarter when selecting and using smart devices. Now we get all frustrated because everything has too many buttons, and like I was my dad's remote control. He didn't have a remote control. I just go change the channel. But today you get these remotes with so many things and like so many options that sometimes you're like, you know what, give me less options, that might be better for me. Or maybe we need to understand what these options are for and be more comfortable with these options. So I call this the Anne-Marie effect. So Anne-Marie is right there. So we brought Anne-Marie too. So Anne-Marie, she helps us with a lot of things at the company as well. And since day one, she's like, I'm not technical. I'm not into technology. I don't know computers. I'm not a coder. I don't understand any of this. But then she started seeing things and started learning about things. And then one day she came into the office and she said, my microwave is driving me nuts. Can I reprogram my microwave? What's wrong with your microwave? Well, when I set it to medium, it shows HL. Why HL? Why doesn't it show M or medium? Why is high, like H for high, L for low, and M for medium? Why is it not M? I'm like, well, Emery, this is actually really easy to explain to you. Let me show you. There's a thing called 8-segment display. It's a very, very cheap display, just 8 LEDs that are long. That's what they look like on the inside. And you can see numbers you can show very easily. So somebody, I don't know how long ago, 50 years ago, came up with the idea. It's a brilliant idea to use very simple way of showing digits. So it's 0 to 9. You see what lights you need to click on for that digit to show. But now when you were talking about letters, things don't work out very well. So there are examples of what you can do. You can show hello on the screen, like H-E-L-L-O. All these letters work just because of which ones you can turn on and off. But how do you do M? It's impossible. So when they designed the microwave, somebody said, well, this is a low-cost microwave. We're going to go with a cheaper display, which only give you, a few numbers on the screen. For the time, you need that. But then they decided for medium to do HL. If I was programming that microwave, I would have picked L0, L1, L2, or like level, not for low, level 0, level 1, level 2. That would have been more something that makes more sense. But whoever programmed the microwave decided to do HL. Now, she's still not happy, but at least she understands why. It's like, oh, maybe next time when I buy a microwave, I'll look at the screen and see if it has a nicer screen or it's a simple screen. This is very common. You see this on calculators, for example. It's very, very old. So the circle of life, or circle of code. So it all starts with the students. They need to see the possibilities. We need to open their eyes, show them what things they could do. Teachers, it's really not easy. And we learned this the hard way because we tried to be teachers, and we learned out that we're not. I'll talk about this in a minute. Governments, they also need to see the value of this. Like, teachers couldn't do it on their own. You need, great people like this at this event, the Henry Fords, people that sponsor and help, that support the teachers and the students. And then it's ever evolving. This is fun, but it's pain. You learn something, and then 5 years later, everything you learned is obsolete. So what do I do now? So you've learned math, you've mastered math, you're great for life. But then you learn coding, 5 years from now, you know nothing. So what do I do? It's a constant learning, non-ending cycle. There's always new technologies. There are new languages, like Python today is the #1 language. Everybody's talking about Python. Nobody heard of Python 5 years ago. But today, everybody wants to program in Python. It's the language of choice today. That might not be 5 years from now. So this is a cycle that if we are helping the next generation, we really need to get them going early. And then we need to also continue evolving because we need to be on track with what the latest technologies are today, which will be always a little bit behind because by the teachers get to college, the students get to college, they're already a little bit behind. But at least we have set them on the right path. So another very interesting one for me. These are my girls, three little angels, and thank you. So can she code? Why my field is full of men? Why I don't see enough ladies in our field? I don't understand. College, when we go to like electronics events, it's always dominated by males. Why? When you look at little children, like elementary or middle school, they are very interested, equally, girls and boys, interested in technology. But then somehow, when they get to high school, technology become a thing that women are not interested in, or less interested in. Why? Did we do something wrong? Can we do something about it and change that? Can we give them the tools they need? Can we get them excited? Can we show them possibilities? So one example, I hope you don't mind Judy here to bring up. So Judy was talking to Judy one day. She's like, well, my father was an engineer, and he really wanted me to get into engineering. But back then, I didn't like cars. So why, when her dad wanted her to get into engineering, she was thinking cars? Did the school not show her the possibilities? Or her dad, I'm guessing he was a mechanical engineer. Maybe she put the engineering and vehicle together into one group. She didn't think that, well, you can be also engineer doing something else, maybe civil engineer. But then she decided that engineering is not a thing she is interested in. Back to Emery. So this lady that cannot code, one day she sent me a text. She's like, I'm really excited. I am going to make the Brainpad draw the winning numbers for me for the lottery. And she actually wrote some program that spit out some numbers for her. And she ran to the gas station and she used those numbers. I think she won, but not money. And until today, she keeps still saying, I am not a coder, I am non-technical. Like, try to talk to her downstairs. She'll be like, no, I don't know anything. But then she'll tell you everything. Now, here is a very interesting one. So, smart devices. Like, we all have smart devices at home, in our bedroom, in the garage, at work. We all have devices, whether you know it or not. They're all around you, and they're all connected. Do we trust these devices? Do we know what we're bringing home? You wouldn't bring anybody in your home unless you know the person, the pet. Why would you bring a device home without trusting that device? How much do you know about that device? Computers execute logical steps. They're dumb. They go step by step. Or they are also, they have no emotions and no feelings. This is a thing that is very, very, very difficult to teach a computer. Computers just go step by step, like go over there, push the button. They disregard everything else, and they can do it all day long. They would not complain. That's a good thing. But then when we are getting to more smarter and smarter devices, this becomes an issue, and I'll show you why in a minute. They can be used good for good and for evil, which is why we're talking about why, if we can trust these devices or not. Now, is it an evil device, or it's an evil coder that decided that they want to do something with that device? So let's say you have this smart coffee maker that's all fancy and tricked out, and it has like, it puts the milk in, the creamer, the sugar, whatever, and you program it, and then in the morning, it starts your coffee, so you wake up to this beautiful smell, and then you can go get your cup of coffee, and it's ready for you. Now, let's say somebody hacked into your device, and they wanted to make your day extra sweet, and they added more sugar to your morning coffee. Okay, that's cute, that's funny. But now, let's say that same person is watching you through your baby monitor. Now, it's not so funny. Like, really? Like, I hear, like, this is crazy, but I hear people saying, oh, they're putting trackers in our COVID shots. You have it in your pocket. They don't need to give you anything. They know where you had lunch, where you had dinner, how much money you spent, where you went, who you met, everything. I went to lunch with a friend. We talked about a subject. I didn't get my phone out. He didn't get his phone out. We talked about a subject. I go back to the office, open Facebook, and I see advertising about the exact same thing I was talking about. Now, are they listening to me? I hope not. I really hope not. We don't know for sure. But I think that person is interested in topic A. They can, by proximity or by who I make calling, they know I'm called that person, and we are in the same location at the same time, and we had lunch together. So I must have the same interest as that person. So whatever we talked about, I start seeing that on my Facebook, which is a little bit scary. Now, the good side of this is you see advertisement about things you care about. You don't see random things. But then it's also scary that how much they know about me. I wish I can go to Google and download my profile, see what Google think of me, or Facebook, or whoever it might be. They have database information about all of us, who they think of us. Like when we go and advertise our products on Facebook or whatever the platform is, they say like, what age? Oh, I want from like 30 to 50. How did they know? What's profession? Like you make really like you're picking the person you're sending the advertising to. How did they get all this information? We're talking about autonomous cars. I can't wait to take a nap while going to work. I can just lay down, take a nap, and then the car will wake me up when I'm at the office. That sounds great, right? That's on the good side. But now the car is making decisions, right? We said computers have no feelings. They just go step by step, do this, do that. Now, in a fatal accident, and Emery said, don't talk about this, it's like too scary. I'm like, no, I really need you guys to see this. Like in an accident, And the car has to make a choice. Somebody crossing the road, and the car has to make a choice. It's going to either kill or get rid or injure, or I don't know what the proper word to use here, the passenger, or who should it save? Let's not talk about who's going to harm. Who's it going to save? Is it going to save the pedestrian or the passenger? What if the passenger is your annoying friend? But then a little girl is crossing the street, right? So who makes that decision? Like we make these decisions. It's very, very difficult when we make these decisions. And we put a blame on you when you get into an accident, you go to court, and it's a big problem. But then when the car makes that decision, who are we going to blame? Now, would you buy that car? And if you bought that car and you go down, drill down through that crazy menu you have in your car, and then there's an option to pick, like in a 50-50 chance, who should go? You or the other person? Which one would you pick? And if you picked you, would you be in fault for harming the other person? It's very complicated. Now, we don't have an answer for any of this today. They're talking about autonomous cars, adding the technology for the car to see things. That's great. But they're making decisions. We don't have that technology today. And we are prepping the next generation, so maybe they'll understand it better and they can solve this problem. One last thing is here, can a car turn into a weapon? That the car, it's all computerized and all controlled by technology. Can somebody remotely drive that car or just program it? You know, like, I hate my husband, and then I can go in the car and I can change the code, and then the next morning the car would just run over my husband in the garage. Any questions? I'm not going to teach you how to hack your car. So garage doors, I'll give you a quick lesson. We have time. I'll give you a quick lesson. So long time ago, she's concerned about somebody opening her garage door because you can open it through your remote control. Why can't somebody else do that? A while back, we had, if you remember, if you are from that generation, the garage door opener had little switches on the back. It was so smart. You just click, 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 and then if your neighbor clicked the same thing, you're opening your neighbor's garage. So it was a very small chance, but there's a chance that you're going to select the switches to match the neighbor. So all we did was match that number between the transmitter and the receiver. It was actually very easy to open anybody's garage door. Now, what changed in today's garage door openers is there is a number. It's a somewhat random number. It's a sequential number that is generated, and it's always generating the next number. And once that number is used, it's discarded. So that number is used once. So when you teach your garage door opener to learn your remote or your new car, when you push that button, they are basically getting in sync in that cycle of the numbers. So every time you push the button, it's sending a number that says 1, 2, 3. Your garage door look at its long list of numbers that's saying, oh, today it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to open the garage. But then that number cannot be used again. So even if somebody was listening and they received that 1, 2, 3, and they tried it, the garage would not open. And this is a similar technology to the fob you have on your vehicle as well. So when you unlock and lock your car, it's a similar technology. It's pretty robust. Nothing cannot be hacked. Nothing, absolutely nothing cannot be. It's how much time and money are you willing to put into it. So if something costs $1,000 and it costs me $1 million to reverse it, it's not worth it. And nothing cannot be hacked. It's a matter of how much time and money you want to put into reverse engineering something. To learn coding, like we were saying earlier, that was an honest joke, by the way, that we use Google. We use YouTube, we use Google, because it's always changing. And there are people who come up with these new technologies, and they are more than happy to share their ideas. Like, we're passionate about what we do, and we're happy to share it. So there are unlimited resources out there when it comes to how much you can find online for coding. One of them is code.org. I believe many of you have seen it and used code.org. It's a fantastic website. It focuses on coding. However, code.org is you're talking about, you're understanding the basic, but you're always tied to a computer, not to, most of the time, you're tied to a computer, not to a device. And we talked earlier about how the value of understanding the device, more low level, more closer to the bare metal. Scratch is another great one. If you've never used Scratch before, there's like a little character on the screen. You can drag blocks in, and those blocks will move it to the left, to the right, zoom in, zoom out. There's so many things you can do, so you can create a story. And there's Microsoft MakeCode. Microsoft MakeCode is very similar to Scratch in the fact that you can drag blocks in to create a program. However, there's also a little tab that you click on, and it will switch between blocks and actual type coding. It has Python and JavaScript. Another value added in MakeCode is it's made so you can program on the computer, but it's actually, it simulates a device on the screen. And whatever you see on the screen, you can put on a device. So now you're taking that from the computer into a device that you can hold in your hand. And then that device can be connected to other things, and now you're creating other things. So it can be a robot, for example. And this is one of the options that we support on our Brainpad, and we'll talk about that in a quick minute here. So how can we help? We are a company that does technology for living, and we are very passionate about what we do, and we want to share what we do with the world. What can we do? We want to create a device that is for every student of all levels. Can that be done? Like something that you can use, like, you know, it's really easy, I can get started. Or I am high school, college level, and I want to do something more advanced. We want instant gratification. Like you do something and you immediately happen. You don't spend like 2 days doing something to see a result. And we want to do that on a device, not a computer, for reasons explained earlier. And we want to play first. So we want to play, then code, and then this will help us excel in life. So back in 2005, we created something. We called it Pick Developer. This was created before Arduino. There was no Arduino back then, but if you look at it, it's like, if you know what Arduino is, it's very, very similar. Arduino looks like that, but it's blue. So it's awfully close, but there was no Arduino back then. I thought it was funny. But then Arduino became extremely popular, and many of you probably have heard of microbit. If you haven't heard of Arduino, Arduino was the thing before microbit. Like when Maker Faire used to happen here, everybody was using an Arduino. When Arduino picked up and everybody was comfortable with that form factor and they liked the headers that they can add wires to, we changed our board in 2010 and we created a board that is Arduino look-like, but then it still uses our way of coding, like what we believe is the right way, the more advanced way. This was very popular. We sold thousands of the Panda and was loved by makers and teachers as well. This used to be a maker thing, not a teacher thing. Like now it's makers and teachers are coming together, which is amazing. Like this is what's happening today. So after we made these products, we've learned a few lessons. We are not teachers. We shouldn't be teaching. It's hard. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is very hard. Yes. Yes. So when we start doing it, we're like, oh, this is great. We can teach everybody. Let's do it. We sit down in a room with a bunch of students, different ages, and then like, this one is very smart. This one has no idea what's going on. What do I do? So do I help the poor kid? Or just leave him alone because no hope is there. And then there's this brilliant kid that's gonna change the world. What do I do? I don't know. You guys figured that out somehow. So yeah, teaching is not easy. And to get the idea to them, like I was explaining to somebody like accelerometer, and it measures acceleration, and like I'm like all excited about what I'm doing, and then a teacher came. He's like, "This is an earthquake detector," and he tapped on the table, and it's like measuring the movement, and then everybody's like, "Oh, earthquake detector! We're so exciting!" So I was explaining it in a very boring way, like a nerdy way. But then the teacher completely changed my thinking, like, oh, it's like he can relate to real life examples. And then when we did this back then, there was no STEM. So what do you do again? It's a circuit, and you connect things, and oh, it's too complicated. Like, hold on a second. You need this. This is important. But we didn't know how to explain how important this is, or there's no term for it. And the STEM became a thing. It made our life a lot easier. So now we say, oh, STEM, great. So this is a STEM-related product. So this is where we created the first Brainpad. So the Brainpad idea was a pad that has a brain on it. So we have on the left side here, we have like inputs. They're all arrows pointing into the brain. So we have a bunch of sensors going into the brain, and the brain thinks about what's going on, and then take action on the output. And the outputs can be sound or LED screen. And that was welcoming because you can see it more. A lot of teachers love the idea of having screen and start using the screen more and more, and they start creating games. And back then at Maker Faire, we were talking to Microsoft. This is when Microbit became a thing. It was very new. We were talking to Microsoft about MakeCode, and we talked about adding MakeCode to the Brainpad, so we have block option for the Brainpad. And they loved the idea of creating games. They started Microsoft. They started doing a lot of like game engine, if you will, on the small screen. And then they created the larger. They like, okay, we're going to do something with a larger screen, with a color screen. And then we created the Brainpad Arcade. So both were successful, very successful. Like the Brainpad Arcade was even sold at the Microsoft stores. They had it when they had a store, and they used to have events where kids would come and then build a video game. It was a lot of fun. The problem with this is we see the two as like, I have to pick which one. Like we always had this problem. Like I need to pick one. Am I doing games? Am I doing electronics? Like what if I want to do more? What if I want to expand and connect things? And we then loved with the idea of the edge connector of the Microbit. It's like the Atari cartridge. So it's like a really smart, easy way to connect things. And this is when the Brainpad Pulse was born. It's the size of a Microbit. It's not a Microbit. It has a screen on it. And we have proposed this actually to the foundation years ago, but they are afraid of change. They're like, oh, teachers are used to the LEDs, and like we're not sure if the change is welcome, but we decided to take this on our own, that we feel like this is necessary. So the screen gives you a lot more value, that if you are reading a sensor, you're seeing the sensor value on the screen. If you're controlling a robot, you are seeing what the robot is seeing on the screen. So it gives you a lot of visual that makes it a lot easier to control. And we went with our original idea of like robots, games, and circuit. We really need to focus on that. To try it out, you don't need any device. Thanks to the sponsors and thanks to the hosts here, you all have received a Brainpad Pulse. So you have one, but even if you didn't have one, like your students can try it on a simulator on the website. You go to makecode.brainpad.com, and there's a simulator and we have it on the Chromebooks downstairs, so you're free to stop by and we'll show you how to use it. So you can do everything right on the screen, and when you're ready, you can transfer it over USB cable to your device, and whatever you see on the screen, you'll see on the device. That's mostly for the display, of course. Now, when you're connecting things, you can't physically connect things on the computer. And we have an ebook to step you through it. The ebook is made for a teacher, not a student, so it helps you in understanding what the Brainpad Pulse does and help you in like creating some kind of a classroom setup, whatever your students' interests are, and then on makecode.brainpad.com, we have lessons as well, and those are like more student-oriented on the website. So the book is for you, and the lessons, like step-by-step lessons on the website, are for the students. We also added some accessories because we saw it with Microbit or any other option like Arduino. You're like, as a teacher, you're not sure. I need to get this board. I need to get that accessory. You're not sure what to connect and what to do at the end. And would this work with that? And then when you download it, what software do I need? So we decided to just narrow it down to do robotics, games, and circuits. our disciplines. And then we have options for you. So if you want to get into robotics, there is a robot that just works out of the box. There's nothing for you to worry about. Plug it in. Everything is already in MakeCode. I thought of this morning, so this is why the slide is not. I was going to put a picture of like our shop and show you what we do. So anyway, we are off I-75 and 14 Mile, not too far from here. You're more than welcome to come yourself. You bring your students on a tour. We do that. Show you what we do. We are a manufacturer of electronics. We are high-end commercial-grade engineering firm that do all kind of work with circuits and electronics and programming. So I think it's pretty interesting. Like what I can think of one really cool example here. On one of the tours, a student kept asking me questions about the machines that build the circuits. And what does he need to do to learn how to run these machines? So he wasn't interested in coding, but he was fascinated by these machines. And he really, really wanted to grow up and operate these machines, because to him, that was the fascination. Great, so we help somebody with an idea for their future. Any questions? We have worked with thousands of students around the world. Maybe you've never heard of us, we're local, but we have over the years, we have done a lot. We get no grants, we get no help, we are not a nonprofit, so it's all on our own. So whatever we do the commercial side, helps funds the Brainpad, and this is our passion, our way to give back to the community. So what I believe in, tomorrow's greatest innovations will stem from the digital knowledge we plant today. Thank you very much. Of course, a special thanks to the great team I have at GHI, at Brainpad. Thanks to Wayne Ressa for making this happen, for this opportunity to let me talk to you today. And also thanks to Judy Balling, Lisa, sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. Nobody can. I'm going to try. Wait, I'm going to try. Agimwani, thank you very much. And thanks to every STEM, teacher, mentor, organizer, decision maker. Our future is in your hands. Thank you very much. And I'll hand it over to Alicia.